Hey guys, and welcome back to another Broken Out Game video. Today's video is going to be some tips, mission tips. So when you go to home and you go into the mission, you'll actually have some missions here to do certain things. Now the biggest thing that I wanted to talk about is limit breaking weapons and limit breaking nightmares. So obviously that's a mission, right? When you upgrade a weapon, notice that, or limit break a weapon, really quick, I want us to pay attention to the number. Notice how this says 39 out of 40. Now we're going to do a little bit of science here. If we go into upgrade and then limit break gear, we're going to limit break this Study of Yggdrasil A rank tome. Slam these two in there, right? Technically you're like, oh, doesn't this count as 2 limit breaks? Watch this. Go limit break, and then you go into home, and it lets me, I have the 2 limit breaks, the little shades there, and I go into mission. And then you go into limit break weapons, which is right. Oh yeah, I accomplished it. So you hit claim reward. Don't tell me this was the last one. Alright, limit break 50 times. Notice how it says 40 out of 50. It only counted as 1. So if I limit break a piece of gear, and this counts for nightmares as well if you're curious, you should do it individually so you don't end up wasting it. Like for example, these staves, right? I have 2 staves. If I limit break this one, alright, hit limit break. Then you go back to home, check your missions. It'll count as 1, right? It'll count as 1. And this is super important so you can save yourself. See how it says 41? You can save yourself the trauma of upgrading weapons and not getting the proper limit breaks. Alright, this is super important to maximize the amount of limit breaks you do, because if you're expecting, oh, I limit break I slammed 4 weapons into 1 weapon, and next thing you know, you didn't get the amount of limit breaks that you wanted. This is the reason why. Go back into mission, and then you'll see here limit break a weapon is at 42. The other one should have technically said 41. I don't know why the code is like this. Hopefully they fix it one day, but regardless, it works the exact same way for nightmares. So make sure you limit break everything individually so you can eventually get all of the gems. I'm not sure what the limit is, but regardless, this is free gems that you are technically missing by not limit breaking in this way. And yes, that's annoying, but it's 30 gems. This is a single pull, and eventually this will turn into a 10 pull. I'm not talking about it goes from 30 to 300. If you save enough of 30 crystals, it'll turn into 300 in total. Alright, don't take me out of context, por favor. This is mainly some advice. So if you're doing Purify, make sure you draw little circles. But the actual tip that I wanted to say was get to account rank 78 as fast as you can, because as soon as you get to account rank 78, you will be able to get 3 times more pretty much value from EXP, AP. You'll see here that I'm getting 3 AP per hit, and I'm also getting plus 3 EXP, because usually it would be 10 EXP at base, right? So get to account rank 78 and draw little circles for Purify. I am doing okay today. I'm not doing as bad as earlier. Drawing circles is hard, yeah? Drawing circles is hard? Let me get to the third one. Oh no. I'm panicking. Draw more circles. Draw more circles. Oh my god, give me the last one. Give me the last one. Give me! Fuck. Brownies. Alright. Next tip. If you go into story mode, you go into events, and specifically Incarnation of Envy. This one is giving you a hard time. My biggest recommendation is as soon as you get to Drizilla, you will kill the wolves. So pretty much in any game mode in SINoALICE that has PvE in it, you will always kill the hound first, alright? This guy will destroy a team. The plant and bird are the weakest things in the entire game. They will do almost no damage. But that wolf will actually break you. So here's a little enemy priority list thanks to Yukina and Justin Hua. I believe I said that right. Here's a little tier list on how you pretty much prioritize which enemy needs to essentially get killed first. So lizards are technically dragons. They do evolve into a dragon, so make sure you focus them next. Golem, snake, and orc. But honestly, like if you get anything out of this, make sure you kill wolves, because those wolves hit insanely hard. Another fun little tip is that when someone hits and it's a certain color, like for example when I cast, you know, blue or water, it'll be blue. When I cast green, it'll be green. And if you want like an easy way to kill golems, just, you know, use the correct elemental type and they just pop. Like if you don't use the correct elemental type, golems are practically invincible. So make sure you use the correct elemental type. I have the links to the Google sheet on my left down below, and let's make quick work of these wolves. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. If you're wondering, I'm pretty sure most folks know, if you want to know the weakness of like an enemy, you just like tap and hold their face before the mission starts, and then you can see like their elemental like weaknesses, or not their elemental weaknesses, but whether they're weak to physical and magical. And you can kind of tell, like, you know, what they're weak to after a couple of runs, because, you know, for example, Drizilla has like a water bubble next to her name. Honestly, if I didn't kill those wolves, Drizilla would like give me a really hard time. So that's like one of my problems earlier when I was doing this game mode. Granted, I do have a high point or rating or whatever you want to call it, but I had a really hard time because I didn't know to kill the wolves. I would aim for Drizilla and I would end up failing this stage like multiple times. So now that you know what to target enemy priority wise, and you know pretty much like what elements to cast for golem and what elemental, like what colors actually mean in this game, let's jump into the weapon section. So in the weapon section, when you upgrade gear, change the base, go into weapons, and let's say you upgrade this. When you use an SR, it'll always give you, let me change my filters. It'll always give you 64, right? You see 64 charm medals right here. Take that off. And then right here on S rank, you get 8 charm medals. And then for A rank, you will get 1 charm medal. This is guaranteed. And if you're wondering, what if I use like the same weapon? Like for example, if I had like a dupe of the Virtuous Contract sword that I'm currently using, and I slam it into this thing, it does nothing. Like, it literally does nothing. Like, whether you slam a similar weapon, the only thing an exact same weapon does is for limit breaking. There are no benefits to combining them together. As far as using weapon EXP, or just like EXP in general, or upgrade materials, okay, you will never use like B ranks and C ranks. Yeah, you will never use these because the amount of gold it costs to use a B rank is just not worth it. For example, when I use this, it's 6,240. If I use this A rank, it's still 6,240. And then if I use this S rank up here, it is still 6,240. So no matter what happens, it's the same exact gold for how much it levels by. And if you are curious if like leveling up from level 1 to 2 is the same stat bonus as going from level 79 to level 80. So for example, if I hit OK here, and then I upgrade it, can I upgrade it with an A rank? No. Alright, let's just use an S rank for science, hit OK. Yep. And then when I go into details, it'll tell you it is still like what? Like, I believe that's like a 12 attack bonus. Yeah, 12, 16, 6 defense, so on and so forth. So these level ups, they will stay consistent as you go up into the game, right? And then as far as like efficiency goes for when you should use weapon, like EXP fodder, at level 66 you should start using S only. At level 44 you should start using A's only. But like I said, you should never use B's and C's. Ideally, you just, you know, you use like A's and S's only, and you will be much more gold / stamina efficient, because the amount of time it takes to farm like 100,000 gold is very, very easy. But at the same time, you could use that stamina that you spent farming gold into farming gorilla, if you know what I mean. If you farm gorilla at advanced stage, it will technically cost less stamina because you do not have to spend as much gold trying to upgrade like a sword and what have you. So my next tip if you go into the mailbox, which is this guy, the chest, whatever you want to call it, there's actually a filter button here. And let's say, for example, it's like, oh man, like I don't want to try and like, you know, get all these like random things. It's just a bunch of weapon EXP. I just want like a, you know, specific thing. Then I want just twilight crystals. It'll just show you the twilight crystals. You hit claim all, and then you'll only get twilight crystals. This is a good way to pretty much mitigate like a bunch of upgrade swords or upgrade shields or what have you that's in your mailbox, and you just don't want to deal with it. Now let's go into Metal Exchange. If you don't know already, in the Charm Metal shop, there will be a 10 metal shell wing that you can buy that one. And then there's like a 50 Charm Metal one, Sealed Dragon. Make sure you buy this one as well. If you exchange it, it is 64 Charm Medals regardless if you want to LB something or if you want to upgrade it. It really doesn't matter. Just note that regardless, like these are like things that you should buy and definitely like LB or upgrade. I'll talk about LBing more just in a bit. So after that, if you go into menu again and you go into Metal Exchange, there's a thing that I want you to know. Notice how this Medal of Desire says 7, you know, like the V letter, which is 5, and then 2 or 1 Roman numerals, right? That's 7. That means that this is July 7th, the month of July, and expires on August 13th. So once it turns into an 8, these 500 Medals of Desires that say 7 on it will be completely gone. They will not transfer over to 8. I just wanted to explain that like really quick. This is based off of the current month, and this is the date that it will expire. You'll see this change in the future, but please, like, and if you're wondering what's the best thing to spend in like any like spark or any gacha system, always get the Arcana. Ideally you don't get the weapon or job, but honestly, like, go for those if you're trying to hit pity, but the most bang for your buck is always the Arcana, even if you don't get the character, because eventually the characters will be in future pulls except for collab units, right? Collab units are the only ones that are different. But every single like Alice, Snow White, what have you that will drop in the game will always be in future banners as long as it's not limited. And you will always get pretty much the characters eventually. Just get the Arcanas even if you don't get the character, because those Arcanas will go a long way once they're finally available to you, and you know, you get some random pull and all of a sudden you got Snow White Crusher. And the last one, and well, no, there's a couple more. So if you go in here into edit gear, HP does not count as an actual stat. So you see here, like, it only counts physical attack, physical defense, magical attack, and magical defense, and HP is not listed. HP is not a stat that can actually boost your, you know, your points or your value. And if you're wondering, like, well, are you sure? It's because, let's say we go into gear, you have 93,588. If I upgrade a class, like for example, let's upgrade Cindy, since she is my waifu. All waifu wives matter. HP plus 50, right? If I upgrade it, hit OK, I got HP plus 50. You'll notice that it's the exact same number as before, 93,588. So HP is nothing but like, it's just like a stat of like how tanky you are, quote unquote, but it doesn't affect heals. It does nothing except for the fact that it's, you know, you take longer to die. It does nothing, alright? But it's really important for like everyone, like especially if you're in the Vanguard, because, you know, you don't want to die as a Vanguard. And the last thing, and probably the most complicated one, and let's go back into story and let's just do, you know, Memory of Dolls, because this one's kind of important. If you do verse 12 instead of you know, hard mode verse 3, it's actually more medals, if you didn't know. So if you do normal, and I know everyone should be doing hard so you can, you know, get the hard mode armor, but if you're in this just for medals, right now verse 12 is currently the best. Right now, like right now, just for medal purposes. The last thing I really wanted to cover was mainly buffs. So the way buffs work, and this is obviously a topic that's very controversial, but I want to make at least this one tip to make it easier for everyone. So at 11 stacks, it'll be when a minstrel buffs someone else. For example, that minstrel has 10,000 attack or 20,000 attack. Normally, when they massively boost someone's physical attack with their 20,000 attack, it'll be a certain, like, that specific modifier. But at 11 stacks, the penalty will be 50%. So instead of the massive, physical attack boost, it'll be like greatly or slightly, because there is a 50% penalty to that buff. So what I'm trying to say is that yes, you can go like 220, but it will be harder to go to 20 because there is a penalty starting at 11 stacks specifically for buffs. I'm pretty sure there's going to be like more math, like probably Tachi is probably going to cover it, but that's essentially how buffs work. Is as the stacks get higher, it'll be more difficult to buff that person to a higher stack. All right, and I'm not sure like how stacks are calculated in buffs. I'm pretty sure there's gonna be a video on that, but that's the biggest thing I wanted to cover, is that buffs will get more difficult at 11. Debuffs get more difficult to land at 6. It's not that they're difficult to land, it's that the modifier to lower the stat, like for example, if you have 20,000 physical attack as a Sorc and you are trying to lower that person's attack, and you are using like massively reducing attack, instead of like this massive modifier, it'll be like a slightly less amount of your physical attack will be associated when decreasing that person's attack. You know what I mean? It starts at 6 and the next one is at 11, so on and so forth. Now, and the only reason why I wanted to cover this was just to clear up some stuff. And it's not that buffs are complicated, it's just know that is the reason why it's harder to get to, get someone up to 20 stacks or get someone below like 20 stacks. And that's why it's so easy to get someone to 10 stacks as a really good Sorc or Minstrel, because, those modifiers haven't been hit yet, where it's like a 50% penalty to your current stats, etc, etc. And if you buff yourself as a minstrel, it does nothing for the person, alright? So as a minstrel, never buff yourself, because it is always your base stats and not your buff stats. Anyways, that's it for this video. Thank you so much for checking it out. Like, comment, subscribe, and all that jazz. I will see you